Meet Minoru Kajino, a 17-year-old high school student whose life takes a drastic turn after a tragic accident involving a truck. Obsessed with becoming a shadowy eminence orchestrating grand schemes, Minoru finds himself reincarnated in a world where magic is real. Reborn as Sid Kajino, a 16-year-old son of a lesser noble family or rural baron, he wields potent magical powers gained from his rebirth. Join as we delve deeper into the mysterious story of Sid Kajino. The story begins with Akane Nishino, a renowned actress and student who appears friendly but deep inside she hides her anger, inner turmoil left behind in the wake of a traumatic incident with Fan. She dislikes everyone around her, especially Minoru Kajino. One day, Nishino finds herself abducted by criminals seeking ransom, only to be unexpectedly rescued by Kajino, disguised as the masked vigilant. Days later, tragedy strikes as Kajino is abruptly killed by a truck.
What?
Through a flashback, Kajino reveals his lifelong aspiration to become a secret mastermind, influencing society from the shadows to protect the innocent, inspired by the fictional heroes he admired. He tirelessly trained in martial arts, dreaming of surpassing even the might of a nuclear bomb. In death, he reflects on his futile efforts, realizing that the laws of physics limit his abilities, leaving him merely human despite his training. In his lament, Kajino acknowledges the impossibility of achieving the level of power he desired. However, upon his death, Kajino is reborn in an alternate magical world as Sid, the son of minor nobles in the kingdom of Midgar. He has a younger sister named Claire. Renewing his commitment to his ambition, he adopts the persona of the Eminence in Shadow, determined to manipulate and control society from the depths of obscurity. Keeping true to his past life, Sid trains in secret and resumes his vigilant activities, targeting bandits to fulfill his desire of becoming the elusive mastermind he admires. One day, Sid encounters a strange blob of decaying flesh. After conducting experiments, he successfully reverses the curse, revealing an elven girl of enchanting beauty. Just for his own entertainment, Sid, as Eminence in Shadow, fabricates a tale for the girl, convincing her that she is a descendant of ancient heroes who defeated a demon named Diablos. He claims that a cult seeks to resurrect Diablos, and thus she must join him in forming a group called Shadow Garden to resist the cult. The girl, now named Alpha by Sid, falls deeply in love with him, believing his fabricated story wholeheartedly. She pledges her loyalty to him, vowing to dedicate her life to their cause. Meanwhile, Sid is secretly amused that Alpha believes his entirely fabricated story. 3 years later, Claire is suddenly abducted. Alpha, now leading a group of 6 girls known as the Shadow 7, all loyal to Sid, locates Claire and confirms she was kidnapped by the cult of Diablos. Sid is convinced the girls are merely role-playing with him, completely unaware that the cult genuinely exists and intends for Claire to be used as Diablos' host body upon his resurrection. Sid leads the attack, under the impression he is hunting normal bandits, and most of the cultists are killed. Claire escapes during the chaos, and with no idea Sid was involved, later leaves to attend Midgar Academy as planned. Sid, still completely ignorant of what really happened, is surprised when Alpha and the other shadows abruptly announce they are leaving. The 7 shadows split up to search for the cult worldwide, leaving Sid under the impression that they've simply outrun their role-playing. Following Claire's path, Sid enrolls at Midgar Academy, concealing his abilities and intentionally avoiding attention. He befriends 2 ordinary boys, Skell and Poe, to blend in. As punishment for a poor test performance, Sid is compelled to publicly embarrass himself by pretending to confess his love to Alexia, a princess of Midgar. Surprisingly, Alexia agrees to be his girlfriend, shocking Sid, who was playing his part as a typical background character. When Alexia invites Sid to her fencing class, he learns she's engaged to Xenon, the royal fencing instructor. However, Alexia harbors no desire to marry him and intends to use Sid to spite Xenon. Fully aware of Princess Alexia's manipulative nature, Sid agrees to maintain their sham relationship in exchange for payment. After 2 weeks, Alexia confides in him about her struggles with fencing, admitting she has always lived in her sister Iris's shadow and was dubbed Fencer Ordinaire. Surprisingly, Sid appreciates Alexia's dedication to mastering the fundamentals of swordplay, which angers her, prompting her to end their arrangement. The following day, Xenon accuses Sid of Alexia's disappearance and has him arrested as the primary suspect in her kidnapping. Locked in a cell adjacent to a mutated human girl, Alexia undergoes a horrific experience as a cult scientist extracts her blood, claiming it carries demon DNA. Meanwhile, Sid endures torture by knights seeking Alexia's whereabouts. His ability to withstand pain makes the torture seem trivial, and he pretends to be a weak and innocent NPC, finding a strange sense of satisfaction in the act. After 5 days of torment, Princess Iris intervenes, ordering Sid's release. Alpha reappears, informing Sid that Shadow Garden has been monitoring the cult's activities and expanding their influence. Impressed by Alpha's dedication to their role-playing game, Sid remains oblivious to Shadow Garden's true power, feeling grateful for their continued visits. Alpha devises a plan to rescue Princess Alexia with a force of 114 loyal soldiers. Amused by the charade, Sid goes along with the plan, believing Alexia's kidnapping to be the work of corrupt knights. In a bold assault, Sid dispatches the knights who tortured him, leading his background actor's army in search of Alexia. As chaos unfolds, the cult scientist injects Alexia's blood into the mutated girl, transforming her into a demon. In a desperate bid for freedom, Alexia kills the scientist and releases Princess Alexia. However, their escape is interrupted by Xenon, who confesses to betraying Alexia to the cult in exchange for a promotion. As Xenon prepares to strike Alexia down, Sid unexpectedly arrives, ready to intervene. Xenon accuses Sid of orchestrating the recent attacks on the cult and reveals himself as a core member. The demon girl wreaks havoc in the city and engages in a fierce battle with Princess Iris. Alpha unveils her true identity to Iris as a member of Shadow Garden, swiftly defeating the demon before disappearing without a trace. In a showdown with Xenon, Sid proves his dominance in combat. Princess Alexia, unaware of Sid's alter ego as Shadow, is captivated by his swordsmanship, resonating with the essence of her lifelong pursuit. Xenon, realizing he's no match for Shadow, resorts to consuming pills that transform him into a demonic force, boosting his power. However, drawing upon his long-held aspirations of a nuclear explosion, Sid triggers a magical bomb, obliterating Xenon and decimating much of the city, leaving behind a massive crater. Reunited with Iris, Princess Alexia is determined to hone her chosen sword style. She offers to be Sid's genuine girlfriend, but he abruptly rejects her, earning a violent retaliation from Alexia. Meanwhile, Alpha resumes her investigation into a group posing as Shadow Garden, while Iris initiates a kingdom-wide inquiry into both the Cult of Diablos and Shadow Garden. Amidst the aftermath of his encounter with Alexia, Sid encounters a scholarly girl with pink hair. The false Shadow Garden continues its spree of murders while Iris entrusts a recovered cult relic to Sherry, a renowned researcher in the kingdom. Unbeknownst to Sid, his friends Poe and Skell take him to a newly opened department store secretly funded by his subordinate Gamma to support Shadow Garden. Despite being impressed, Sid remains convinced that Gamma is merely playing a role, oblivious to his immense wealth and influence. He also encounters Nu, the newest member of Shadow Garden. On his way home, Sid witnesses Alexia battling several murderers. He intervenes, saving Alexia and eliminating the attackers. One survivor is handed over to Nu for interrogation. Meanwhile, the murderers' leader, Gaunt Knight, confirms they have located the relic. Alexia confirms that Shadow Garden is not responsible for the murders, though Iris continues to view them as enemies of the kingdom. Sid, Poe, and Skell, having purchased chocolates from Sid's store, attempt to confess their feelings to girls. Skell faces retribution from the girl's fiancé, while Poe's confession leads to his mistaken arrest as a stalker. Frustrated, Sid decides to give the remaining chocolates to anyone, coincidentally offering them to Sherry. Vice Principal Ruslan, Sherry's adoptive father, interprets the gesture as a love confession and urges Sherry to respond promptly to avoid keeping Sid waiting. Nu informs Sid that the interrogated murderer was a typical foot soldier of the cult, brainwashed with drugs and magic. Meanwhile, Sid is preoccupied with Skell and Poe entering him into the Academy's sword tournament to impress girls. Nu mistakenly believes Sid's ramblings about the festival are his plans to deal with Rex, another cult operative in the city. At the festival, Sid faces off against student president Rose, a princess of the neighboring kingdom of Oriana. Despite keeping his skills hidden and pretending to be injured, Sid persists in the fight, impressing Rose with his determination. Although Rose is declared the victor by the referee, she admires Sid's fighting spirit. Sherry approaches Sid, suggesting they become friends before considering dating. However, Sid, having forgotten who Sherry is, decides to avoid her altogether. Sherry confides in Princess Alexia about her feelings for Sid, relieved to learn that their relationship is fake. However, Alexia secretly feels unsettled by another girl's interest in Sid. An election is announced to fill an empty student council seat. Gaunt Knight sets up an anti-magic barrier, allowing the fake Shadow Garden to capture the academy. When Sid and Rose's classroom is attacked, Rose, weakened without her magic, attempts to fight back. Sid rushes in to save her but sustains severe injuries in the process. Sid admits to being excited at the opportunity to appear heroic while fighting terrorists, saving Rose to maintain this facade. However, Rose mistakenly believes Sid sacrificed himself out of love for her. As the students are escorted to the auditorium, leaving Sid's seemingly lifeless body behind, he secretly revives and heals himself. Meanwhile, Rex attacks Sherry in an attempt to retrieve the relic, but Ira's Crimson Knights come to her rescue. Sid, also combating the terrorists, reunites with and saves Sherry. Sherry identifies the relic, generating the barrier as the Eye of Avaris. which absorbs magic and explodes once it's full. Sid deduces that the cult intends to use the eye to prevent the students from becoming knights and obstruct their plans. The relic Sherry has been studying is revealed to be Eye's control unit, which she hopes can prevent the explosion. To retrieve tools from her room, Sid volunteers to assist Sherry. Meanwhile, Rex warns Gaunt Knight about someone killing their men, leading Gaunt Knight to suspect the real Shadow Garden's involvement. It's revealed that Gaunt Knight's true goal is to be reinstated into the Knights of the Round. New discovers that the lone surviving Crimson Knight is her former fiancé Marco, and though tempted to kill him, she decides to spare his life. Sid instructs New and the other Shadows to refrain from attacking the terrorists until Sherry completes the Control Relic. Sherry activates the Control Relic, deactivating the eye and its barrier. Sid arrives disguised as Eminence in Shadow, and Shadow Garden begins slaughtering the terrorists. Iris, convinced that Shadow Garden is behind the attack, reacts with fury at their intervention. Sid confronts Gaunt Knight, who is destroying Sherry's research. In a shocking revelation, Sid discloses that he is Ruslan, Sherry's adoptive father. Ruslan unveils his dark past, explaining how he once sought the eye's power to cure his illness. He reveals that he killed Sherry's mother when she grew too fearful to continue her research, adopting Sherry as a means to complete it. Combining the eye with the Control Relic, Ruslan regains his lost sword skills and engages in a duel with Sid. Despite Ruslan's regained abilities, Sid proves to be the superior swordsman. Ruslan boasts about framing Shadow Garden for his crimes, but Sid remains unfazed. In a decisive moment, Sid kills Ruslan, inadvertently witnessed by Sherry. In the aftermath, the kingdom designates Shadow Garden as a terrorist organization. Sherry confides in Sid that with Ruslan dead, she plans to transfer to a scientific research academy to pursue a new goal, though she admits she will miss him. When Sid presses her about her new objective, she cryptically insists on keeping it secret, hinting at a sinister undertone to her intentions. Sid receives a request from Alpha to visit the sacred city of Lindworm, where Beta, Epsilon, and Nu also receive missions from Alpha. As they converge in Lindworm to attend the upcoming goddess trial, Alexia and Iris pay a visit to Sid's department store. Alexia, planning to seduce Sid, purchases provocative underwear. In a flashback, it's revealed that after defeating Ruslan, Sid feigned miraculous survival from the injury he sustained while rescuing Rose. Rose, interpreting his actions as a declaration of love, hopes to marry him with her father's approval if Sid wins the trials. However, Sid misunderstands her intentions, believing she aims to convert him to worship the goddess Beatrix, Lindworm's dominant deity. Reluctant to accompany her on the trip, Sid avoids Rose's attempts to seduce him, opting instead to tolerate her presence. In Lindworm, Sid encounters Beta disguised as the popular author Natsum, who gained fame by publishing stories from his past life's world. Beta passes Sid a coded mission briefing in an ancient language. Meanwhile, Rose mistakes Sid's interest in the briefing as a passion for history and languages, unaware of its true nature. Amidst the events, a cultist murders Archbishop Drake of Beatrix's church. While Epsilon eliminates one of his men, the murderer escapes. Sid visits a hot spring and coincidentally encounters Alexia there. Despite her embarrassment, Alexia explains the goddess trial's nature. Challengers summon and duel the spirits of renowned warriors, with the challenger's strength linked to the summoned spirit's prowess. Busy with investigating the Archbishop's murder, Alexia asks Sid to aid her by joining the Crimson Knights. However, Sid declines and casually departs, intriguing Alexia as he leaves. Soon after, Alexia's investigation is halted by interim Archbishop Nelson, whom she suspects in Drake's murder. Meanwhile, Princess Alexia crosses paths with Beta in her Natsum guise, sparking immediate animosity between them. At the trial, many fighters suffer humiliation when no famous warriors materialize to duel them, suggesting their unworthiness. Unexpectedly, Sid is announced as the next challenger, his entry fee discreetly paid by Rose to showcase his potential to her father. To avoid exposing his true strength or risking public embarrassment, Sid intervenes in the trial as the Eminence in Shadow. His presence summons Aurora, the Calamity Witch, who Nelson claims was the most powerful witch in history. Witnessing Aurora's appearance, Princess Alexia realizes the potential danger posed by Eminence. Sid defeats Aurora effortlessly but feels disappointed by the lack of challenge, prompting his departure. As he leaves, the arena barrier collapses and a new summoning spell activates, impressing Shadow Garden with Sid's actions. Alpha unveils her true identity as an elf and a descendant of Olivier, the hero who severed Diablo's arm a millennium ago. Intrigued, Sid decides to enter the summoning circle that has appeared, disappearing into the sanctuary. Alpha, along with the rest of Shadow Garden, follows suit after kidnapping Nelson. Princess Alexia and Rose also enter the sanctuary. Inside, Sid encounters Aurora, imprisoned for 1,000 years. Upon freeing her, Aurora discloses the sanctuary's true nature as a colossal prison containing the memories of past heroes. Destroying the magical core of the sanctuary would result in the deletion of these memories, including Aurora's. As they navigate through memories, Sid and Shadow Garden uncover the cult's dark history of using the sanctuary to experiment on orphan girls with Diablo's blood, aiming to resurrect him. These experiments led to the creation of strong heroes like Olivia, but also resulted in many deaths. Further revelations unfold regarding the experiments on Diablo's arm, which produced the demonic transformation pills. Additionally, the sanctuary produces 12 beads annually, granting 1 year of immortality to the cult's 12 leaders, including Nelson, who helped create the first beads a millennium ago. Nelson, driven by demonic transformation, scatters everyone across multiple memories and creates clones of himself to combat Shadow Garden simultaneously. Epsilon discloses that she and the named Shadows were once girls experimented on by the cult, and Sid cured them of the demonic/curse side effects while preserving their strength. They infiltrate the sanctuary's archive and procure records of the cult's experiments. Delta reveals her berserker-level strength, enabling her to dispatch hundreds of Nelson's copies without relying on magic. Meanwhile, Sid and Aurora approach the sanctuary's core, sealed behind chains that only a nearby magic sword can sever. Despite Sid's attempts, the sword can only be wielded by a hero's descendant. Nelson summons Olivia to fight for him, but Epsilon arrives with the cult's research, prompting the Shadows to teleport out of the sanctuary, with Alexia and Rose leaving Nelson bewildered. As Sid remains in the sanctuary, Nelson commands Olivia to kill him. In their duel, Sid finds Olivia's mindless obedience tedious, lacking in personality. Aurora intervenes to protect Sid, viewing it as repayment for instilling her with new memories after a millennium of emptiness. Annoyed by Aurora's assumption of his defeat, Sid reveals he has uncovered a secret of the sanctuary. Despite Olivia stabbing him through the heart, Sid smiles and reveals one of his eyes has changed color. In a startling move, Sid grabs Olivia and bites her coronoid arteries, fatally incapacitating her. He reveals to a stunned Nelson that he allowed Olivia to stab him in a way that avoided vital organs. Furthermore, Sid discloses the secret he uncovered. The sanctuary absorbs magic from the atmosphere, allowing him to compress his magic into a solid mass within his eye, granting him access to his magical abilities once more. With this revelation, Sid triggers his atomic bomb spell, obliterating Nelson and the sanctuary core. As Sid bids farewell to Aurora, she kisses him and expresses the hope that he may one day find the true Aurora. Meanwhile, Princess Alexia and Rose recognize the need to establish their own clandestine organization to combat both the cult and Shadow Garden. Under the guise of Natsun, Beta agrees to aid them, intending to gather intelligence. Alpha learns from the sanctuary's archives that Aurora's true identity is that of the demon Diabolos. Elsewhere, Shadow Garden initiates the acquisition of all property in the city of Madlid to establish another shopping center, concealing their true motive to access a lucrative oil field. Alexia confirms the Beatrix Church's involvement with the cult, but is hindered by political constraints. Determined to gain her own political influence, Iris resolves to ascend the ranks of the Crimson Knights, beginning with victory in the upcoming Bushan Festival tournament. Meanwhile, Rose discovers the possibility of being infected with demonic blood. The Bushan Festival is in full swing, drawing numerous fighters to the royal capital. Sid devises a plan to surprise the crowd by disguising himself as weak and effortlessly defeating his opponents. With the help of magical slime makeup from Gamma, Sid transforms into Mundane Man, a supposed unskilled knight who died in poverty. Anna Rose, a foreign knight who participated in the goddess trial, witnesses Mundane allowing himself to be beaten by Quentin, a fighter, before the festival begins. She is astonished to find Sid uninjured. Meanwhile, Sid learns that the favorites to win the festival include Iris, Rose, Anna Rose, Quentin, and a mysterious Dark Knight. Rose confides in Sid about her father's plan to betroth her to a man named Perv Ashat, who would force her to relinquish her sword. Sid advises her to prioritize her own happiness for once. During the preliminary fights, Goldie Gilded, a skilled yet arrogant knight, offers advice to Skell on identifying potential winners. However, Goldie is taken aback when Mundane, without moving, defeats an opponent contrary to his prediction. Only Eneros notices Mundane's astonishing speed, winning the fight before it even starts. Goldie announces Mundane as his next opponent. The following morning, it is revealed that Rose has stabbed Perv and vanished. Rose's escape casts suspicion on her, leading to severe consequences in inter-kingdom politics. Determined to find and protect her, Alexia sets out, but Bea obstructs her efforts, knowing Rose is hiding in the city's underground ruins. Meanwhile, Sid encounters an elf named Beatrix, who resembles Alpha, but is searching for her missing niece. Despite recognizing the resemblance, Sid refrains from mentioning it to Beatrix. As Mundane, Sid faces Goldie in his first duel, watched by Eneros and Quentin, who grow increasingly suspicious of Mundane's abilities. To their bewilderment, Mundane dodges Goldie's attacks with unconventional methods and defeats him by redirecting his own magic back at him. Anna Rose admits she cannot replicate Mundane's movements, impressed by his skills. Iris discovers Rose did not injure Purvis Shat, who wields a sinister influence over her father, the king. Mundane defeats Quentin, setting up a confrontation with Anna Rose the following day. Despite her attempts to intimidate him, Mundane reveals his heavy armor and incredible speed, leaving Anna Rose stunned. Meanwhile, Rose continues to evade pursuit by the soldiers sent after her. Sid's elder sister Claire pays him a visit, but he avoids her by feigning interest in joining Skell to hunt down Rose for a hefty reward. In truth, Sid admires Rose for her courage in fleeing an unwanted marriage. While wandering, Sid overhears the Moonlight Sonata, a favorite piece of his, being played nearby, and discovers Epsilon is the talented pianist behind it. She explains how posing as a skilled musician has helped her establish connections in the Oriana Kingdom. Alexia and Beta suspect Rose flood after uncovering Perv's secret allegiance to the cult, which involves using magic to manipulate the king. They venture into the underground ruins to locate her. Meanwhile, Rose, plagued by her worsening condition from the demonic blood, contemplates surrendering to prevent a conflict with Oriana. However, upon encountering Shadow playing the piano, she realizes she must fight on. Eminence appears, curing her infection and granting her strength before disappearing. As cult soldiers close in on her, Rose decides to part ways with Alexia and Bea, determined to face her challenges alone. Though Alexia disagrees, Rose defeats her in combat and bids farewell to Beta, who understands her decision. She suspects it was Sid's plan all along. Meanwhile, Sid relishes the dramatic moment of playing the piano underground to impress Rose. Returning home, he faces an irate Claire who has been waiting for him all day. After subjecting Sid to a sadistic punishment for neglecting her, Claire discloses that she has taken Rose's place in the festival and insists Sid watch from VIP seating. Reluctantly, he sits beside Iris, who apologizes for the Zeman incident. They discuss the mysterious Dark Knight competitor, Beatrix, the Elvish war goddess, the festival's inaugural champion. Sid realizes Beatrix is Alpha's aunt. Sneaking away, Sid disguises himself as Mundane to duel Anna Rose. Meanwhile, Perv joins Iris, expressing confidence in Rose's return and his upcoming marriage to her. He also hints at hiring skilled warriors, particularly Anna Rose. In the arena, Anna Rose struggles to match Mundane's speed and is defeated, fueling Iris's determination to challenge him next. Perv investigates Mundane, suspecting no ties to Shadow Garden. Grateful for the lesson, Anna Rose invites Mundane to work for her government, but he declines. Sid anticipates defeating Iris and disappearing mysteriously to become a legend. However, Claire reminds him he missed her match. Sitting beside Princess Iris and Beatrix, Sid watches Claire's match. Meanwhile, Perv continues his scheming, drugging the king and plotting to manipulate Rose into attempting to save him. His ultimate plan involves orchestrating a public assassination of Iris and Princess Alexia's father, the King of Midgar, to ignite a war. Claire emerges victorious in her match, but her triumph is overshadowed by her fury upon discovering Sid's absence from the audience once more. Iris challenges Mundane to a duel, but she is haunted by terrifying premonitions of his swift and lethal counterattacks. True to her fears, Mundane swiftly disarms and defeats her, adding to the tension of the event. Amidst the chaos, Rose infiltrates the VIP area with assistance from Shadow Garden. Perv's rage reaches its peak when Rose unexpectedly kills her own father, who expresses gratitude for being freed from Perv's influence. Ready to end her own life, Rose is stopped by Mundane, who reveals his true identity as the Eminence in Shadow. The revelation stuns Rose, who recalls their past encounter when Sid, then known as Stylish Bandit Slayer, saved her from kidnappers, inspiring her to pursue swordsmanship. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Rose flees once more. Beatrix, fueled by her desire for a long-awaited confrontation with Mundane, recognizes Shadow as a wanted terrorist and engages him in a duel. Alpha extends an offer of membership in Shadow Garden to Rose, who accepts without hesitation. As Beatrix and Shadow engage in their intense duel, Princess Iris joins Beatrix in a united front against their formidable opponent. The battle escalates, spreading across the city and drawing the attention of its inhabitants. Just as Shadow prepares to unleash his devastating atomic attack, he vanishes without a trace, leaving Iris and Beatrix bewildered and infuriated by his escape. Meanwhile, Perv faces the consequences of his failure and is left to plead for forgiveness from his master. Beatrix departs from the capital with a heavy heart, lamenting her inability to locate her missing niece. In her secluded quarters filled with wanted posters of the Eminence, Sherry's resolve to seek vengeance against him is renewed upon hearing news of his latest attack. With the Eminence's identity revealed to the world, Shadow Garden mobilizes to provide further support to Sid, anticipating his increased involvement in their organization's affairs. Alpha leads Rose into the treacherous mountains near Sid and Claire's childhood village, where the remnants of the old kingdom of Alexandria serve as the new secret headquarters for Shadow Garden. There, Rose undergoes a transformative process, shedding her former identity and embracing her new role as Soldier 666, undergoing rigorous training to prove her worth to her new comrades. Meanwhile, Sid indulges in a brief moment of reflection in the underground of the capital, finding solace in playing the Moonlight Sonata on a stolen piano. Satisfied with the intricate web of role-playing he has woven with Princess Iris and Lady Beatrix, he eagerly anticipates the unfolding events yet to come. That concludes today's recap. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more updates in the future.